Now, most of the time I'm a bit envious of other YouTubers. Those people do much more exciting things than me. David Dobrik's giving away cars. Jackmate goes to Miami to get off with Greg Paul.
Do not kiss me!
And Zach and Jay, they do everything. What's that? A global pandemic that means everyone has to stay at home or in their gardens and can't go out ever? Move over, lads. There's a new king of YouTube. One of the things I most enjoy when I'm sat around inside doing nothing is cooking. And in particular, if I've got a bit of time, like we all have now, I like to bake bread. So let's have a go at baking some bread. You don't need that much for baking bread. You need a bowl, some of this strong white bread flour. Other brands are available. Just buy this one because it looks nice, doesn't it? It's got a picture of a dove on it and stuff. I always wait to make sure Arlo's awake and everyone's ready, well, most people are awake, before I make bread, because I use a food mixer for it and it's quite noisy. I'm not too precise about measuring things normally with food and cooking and stuff. I just sort of, once you've done it for a bit, you get a hang of it. But bread and that is like baking is sort of science, isn't it, rather than art, I guess. So I think you'll be a bit more precise. So I put in 500 grams of flour there, 1 packet of yeast. That was a teaspoon of sugar. This is 1.5 teaspoons of salt. And then warm water. You've got to make sure it's not too hot or it kills the yeast. This is 325 millilitres of that. That in, get that out, so it's not too wet. There we go. You have to knead it. You can do this by hand, but I hate that because it's a bit of a ball ache. So what I do is I put it in the mixer, not too high, slow it first, and it'll go and mix. Hang on, just wait here while it mixes. Okay, there we go. It's been about 5 minutes it takes if you're on a food mixer. If you're doing it by hand, I find it takes a bit longer and it's horrible. By hand, you just sort of move it, squeeze it around and stuff like that, mix it all together. Just look up kneading on the internet. Very sticky the dough, so you've got to try and do minimal handling of it. Once you've done it for a bit, the first time you're a bit unsure of how it's supposed to be. Once you've done it for a bit, you get an idea of how it's supposed to be. In fact, I'm just going to put a bit of olive oil around the edge, and I'm just going to roll it in it to coat the ball slightly, because then I find it doesn't stick as much. So have your little ball of dough, like that. I know what I do now. Pop it at the side, get a damp tea towel, clean one, pop it over the top, and leave it for an hour to rise. Let's go see some other things you can do to pass the time while you're sitting around waiting. Just because you're social distancing, don't think you necessarily have to be inside all the time as long as you're sensible. And do check the latest advice, because I think this is accurate at the minute, but it's changing quite quickly, isn't it? But one of the things I quite like doing is going running or walking if you don't fancy running. Get outside, as long as you keep your distance from people and you're not touching stuff and you're just generally being sensible, you should be alright. And I think it's quite easy for people's mental health to suffer when they're locked up inside all the time, particularly if you're not used to it. Younger people are always going out, for example, but if you try and get out a bit, I think you'll feel a bit better. But as I say, do double check the latest advice and see how that says, because I don't want you to get sick. You'll be sensible, won't you? We're going to see how the bread's going. Okay, so we're going to check on this now. It's roughly double in size, doesn't it? That's what we're after. And then the next bit you've got to do is you've got to punch it. This is called knocking it back. Bang! And it goes down and gets smaller. Like that. And then the next bit, we put it into the tin we're going to bake it in. So I've oiled this tin just so it doesn't stick to it. Now Put it on there. Put it all in nicely. Make sure it's filling it up. And I'm just going to put a bit of oiled cling film over it. So the oiling of the cling film is just to make sure that it doesn't stick to it. You want to leave a little bit of give in it, make a little tent almost, so that when it expands it's not getting squashed down by it. So just a little bit of room in there. Brilliant. Now you just leave that for another hour and then it'll be ready to cook. Anyway, back to things you can do. So trampolining is a fairly popular activity for us to do. We're sat at home. I enjoyed trampoline. When we first got it, I thought it'd just be something that the kids did, but I'm really into it as well. It's a really good way, bit of exercise. You can do little tricks like landing on your bottom or on your tummy or on your knees. There's all sorts of things you can do. You can jump quite high, particularly if you're an adult.
Oh, like you're just fall over.
Right, so here we are back at the bread. As you can see, it's risen nicely. Just take this off, and this is ready to go in the oven now. 200 degrees, 35 minutes. You could beat an egg over the top of it if you wanted. Beat an egg and then crush it. That'll give it a nice, like, shiny crust. If you want, I'm not going to do that. I just want to make this a vegan treat. If anyone is watching, who that's their disposition. So I'm just going to dust a little bit of flour over the top, which gives a nice little effect. Oh, put too much on there. Oh well. Give a nice little effect. And that goes in the oven for about 35 minutes. So regular viewers of the channel will know that one of the things I like doing to pass the time when I'm sat around doing nothing at home is a bit of gardening. Now you go to the supermarket and there's not loads in there. As in earlier today, there's like no fruit and veg really around for you. And so I think being able to grow your own food might make a big difference this summer. So the good news is I was in the garden centre the other day. So just worth my mouth. I was in the garden centre the other day and there's loads of seeds around. There's plenty of seeds. So you can start growing things now and you can have food in a couple of months. I mean, you've got to keep going till then, but might well be worth trying to grow a few bits if you've got some outdoor space in which to do it. I'm just planting my seed potatoes today. My first early. It's a bit late on them, to be honest, but I've been away. And the world is a bit mad, isn't it? So not really my fault. So we're going to do that now. So all I've done here is I've filled this about a third of the way through with soil, and I'm going to add a little bit of just a general organic fertiliser, just a little handful of this. Put that in there. And I'm going to put a little bit of fish blood and bone, which I've never used before, but I like it because it sounds like a American folk band, doesn't it? So I'm going to put a little bit in. How much? I'm just going to put a handful in. Oh, seems a bit punchy, didn't it? Just a minute. Just do another one. Let's put that in there. Mix it all around the soil. Just going to take 3 potatoes. They've chitted, so they've got the little bits sticking up. I've left them on the side to chit nicely. And I'm going to put those and space them around evenly inside the bucket. A bit like that. I don't know if you can see that. There you go, so they're in there, and then I'm just going to put more soil on top. Yeah, about 2/3 of the way full. Put it down, there we are. All done, and that one's done. And you'll get a lot of potatoes for that. There's only 3 that have gone in there, but you're going to get, I reckon I'll probably get 20 potatoes out of that. So it's quite good for the future. Buy seed potatoes ideally, don't just plant any potatoes because they can be diseased. But these are especially screened for disease. You can get them from any garden centre, they're all in now. They come in different varieties. You get earlies, which you can sort of plant now, second earlies, which you can sort of plant now as well. They come through different phases of when they're going to be ready, main crop and then late crop and stuff. So do that now, there's lots of there, and I'm going to be doing a lot of gardening videos in the coming weeks because it's gardening season, and also we need food or we're all going to die. Okay, so time up now, let's have a look at our bread. It's looking pretty good. Oh, steamy. Here's the bread. Just loosen it up a bit. And if you get it out, you can check if it's done by tapping on the top and making sure it sounds hollow, and that sounds pretty hollow to me. pop it on a rack to cool for a bit. Another good thing to do when you're sat around at home is to play board games. I thoroughly enjoy a good board game, although I can't always find someone to play them with me. But one good game that we tend to play, wife and I play as a couple, and occasionally I play with friends, is Grand Austria Hotel. It's a good game, it takes probably about an hour and a half to play. You can play between 2 and 4 players. It says here it's for 12 years and upwards. It's not too complicated, but it takes a little bit of time to get used to. Maybe about 15 minutes. You sort of pick up the basics really. And the idea is you're basically set in the Viennese modern age, and you're running a cafe and trying to compete with the other cafes and to attract customers and create the greatest possible cafe in the world. It's a good fun game. It's quite easy. It's not too complex, but it's got some skill to it, and it's quite good fun. Now with kids, there are quite a few board games for kids, and most of them are pretty horrendous, to be honest. Like particularly for young children, once they get to a bit older, you can get into the sort of classics. But I've got like a 5-year-old and an 8-year-old that like to play board games, and things like Game of Life Junior is just horrendous. So you want to avoid that. But one game that is brilliant is Ticket to Ride First Journey. Now Ticket to Ride, the actual game, is brilliant as well. If you're an adult, we've got that too. But for kids, this is a really good one to play as a family, because there is some skill to it. It is good fun, and it's just not as depressingly dull as a lot of the kids ones. Basically, you have to complete rail routes, and first to get to I think 6 completed rail routes by joining up little cities. Wins, you can probably see on the back there the little different links that you can get between cities and your trains, and you get cards. You use those to purchase trains and build up your routes and all that. And it's quite a good fun game, quick as well. So it's probably about 20 minutes. It's in here, 15 to 30 minutes. It says, yeah, I'd say 20 minutes. Now some of you will be thinking though, Robbie, I live on my own. I'm stuck here. I'm self-isolating, or I'm in quarantine, or whatever we're calling it now, and I can't play a game. But there are board games you can play with one person. One that's I've never actually played one player, but it's supposed to be good, is Scythe. You can play for one to 5 players, but it's supposed to be good fun for just one if you want. It's basically sort of, I think it's set in the past. Yeah, it's an alternative history of 1920s Europa, which I think is sort of Europe, but it's like farming and mechs. It's a bit sci-fi-y, a bit more sort of, a bit harder to get your head around what's going on compared to Grand Austria Hotel, but it's a good fun game. Takes a bit of time to get into, but well worth playing. And as I say, you can apparently play it on your own. I haven't tried that, but maybe I will over the next few weeks, depending on how long this goes on for. So that's my list of 5 things to do at home when you're stuck around the house. I'm someone who's pretty experienced at sitting around the house doing nothing. There's obviously things like computer games as well. Maybe we'll touch on some of those in future videos. I've been intending to do quite a few videos now because I haven't really got any work on. I'm sat around the house, but I'm also homeschooling 3 kids and stuff, so I mean, in the loosest possible sense of the world. History lesson today was just chucking in front of horrible histories for a movie for an hour and a half, so things like that. But I'm going to try and get as many videos out as I can, and yeah, starting doing it. We sit around. If you're new to the channel, I make a lot of videos where I just sit around waiting to die, so if that's the kind of thing you like, then hit subscribe or maybe like the video. Do what you like, it's fine, it's a sunny day. I'm not going to tell you what to do, just do what you like, it's cool, relaxed.